This week on TGC News, a suppressor, big bore, wheel guns, ammo, night vision, and a place to rest? I talk all the time about having fun while you train. Well, RE Factor Tactical knows how to have fun with their Menace to Society target packs. Included are some of the most hated a-holes from the 21st century, like Gaddafi, Hussein, the boys and the father, and a bunch of others in the ISIS flag too, because F them, right? Whether you're just out there running drills, or if you just want to shoot them in the face, a lot, the Menace to Society targets can help. To get 10% off your entire order, click the link in the description to head over to refactortactical.com and use the code TGC10. Welcome back to TGC News, the only gun news show that covers things you actually care about. My name is Jon Patton. I swear to all that is holy, if you're watching this right now and you aren't subscribed to the TGC YouTube channel, I'm going to be like super duper mega upset with you, or something. Go subscribe. Now, this week, because the episode is originally going to air on a holiday, I wanted to mix things up a bit. We're going rapid fire style for the entire episode. There's a whole bunch to cover, so let's get to it. I don't know how long it's going to be, but let's get rocking and rolling. First up, Silencer Co. is finally getting their butts in gear and shipping the long-awaited Maxim 9 pistols. You've seen me cover this thing a few times, including giving them an award at SHOT Show 2017 for Best Pistol. I want one, you want one. It's like a fidget spinner, but for adults. The retail price on these is set at $14.99, but with Silencer sales continuing to freaking tank, I wouldn't be surprised if you find a smoking deal on these in the near future. Next up, ATN, a company best known for making failed attempts at quality night vision and thermal, has released one of the smartest products I've seen in that arena in a long time. This is called the X-Track. It's essentially a wireless remote that mounts to your gun and recreates all the buttons that you would find on top of the optic and puts them on the side of your gun in a comfortable position to access while having the gun shouldered and looking through the optic. And because in my experience, ATN products require constant fiddling, this should be a great addition to their lineup at only $80. Hey, FLIR and Trijicon, pay attention. ATN's beating you at the game right now. This is a badass idea that you need to make happen for the rest of your stuff. Cruising right along into our next topic, Federal has released a really interesting new load of HST defense ammo for micro or short barrel .38 special guns. The reason this is so interesting to me is because instead of seating the bullet like normal, kind of part in, part out, and having expansion room within the case for the gases before the bullet leaves, they've deep-seated the bullet to eliminate excess air in the case, and they claim that this leads to more consistent results. It's almost as if they took like a .38 short and kind of put a case up around the bullet. It's kind of weird. The jury is still out as to whether or not this will really make a difference, but hey, it's cool to see them trying different ideas to get better results for the customers. Despite the fact that the tactical crowd looks down on them, revolvers are still wildly popular, and a load like this makes sense for them to release. And speaking of revolvers, Smith & Wesson recently announced a couple new combat revolvers. The Model 66 in .357 Magnum and the Model 69 chambered in .44 Magnum. They both have 2 3/4-inch barrels, which means they will have some bark because they're tiny, and they will also have a good amount of balance as opposed to the truly micro revolvers like we mentioned a minute ago. They're sized so that you have decent weight and grip on the gun, but short enough to be concealed if you want. I personally love stainless wheel guns, and with 6 rounds of .357 or 5 rounds of .44 mag, you've got some oomph to go with it. Both guns are set to retail at $849. And Barnes Ammunition, a company that makes some high-quality premium fuel for your guns, announced a voluntary recall of their 300 Weatherby 180-grain TTSX Vortex ammo. Yeah, it's a really long name just to say it's a copper bullet. Why did they do this, you may ask? Well, as stated on their site, rounds of other cartridges may have ended up in these boxes. Whoops! That is not good. And it is also a good reason why it's smart to pay attention to what you're putting in the gun. Now, to be fair, 300 Weatherby isn't exactly flying off the shelves, but it would be a big problem for someone to be out in the field looking to take down a moose or something like that, and having the gun not go off, or even worse, explode because they unknowingly loaded the wrong ammo that they found in a 300 Weatherby box. It's good on Barnes for taking the problem head on. There's a link in the description if you are one of those affected, have some 300 Weatherby, check it out and see if your ammo is affected. Powering through, our next story is about lever actions. You guys know I'm a big fan of big bore lever guns, and apparently so are the folks at Turnbull. They've partnered with Marlin, or the shell of what used to be Marlin, to release some special editions. Turnbull is best known for their outstanding color case work and refinishing, so this is no different. The receivers and levers are all done up in that really nice color case, hardened, whatever you want to call it, and the wood has been refinished to a high polish as well. It's a super slick setup, but at $1,300 for the 4570 model 1895, the price reflects that. And it appears as though they may only be available through Turnbull, so if you want one, jump on it. Birchwood Casey, the company best known for making targets, just released a neat set of rests for the range. The set is called the Nest Rest, and for $25 you get a front and rear rubberized nest, one obviously higher than the other, that can be stacked with the rear in the front or the rear on top of the front for extra height. I've seen laser cut foam rests similar to this before, and they end up costing a fortune for what you get, and sometimes they're just not good quality at all. This seems to bridge the gap of cheap rest that you can toss in your car and solid quality. I personally only use a rear rest when I'm working on a gun, but hey, it's a cool concept for a solid price. Now, before I go any farther, I want to take a minute to talk about what today, Memorial Day here in the US, is all about. We walk around every day with more freedoms than most. We fight for what's right all the time, and we do it on the backs of the fallen, the ones that paid the ultimate sacrifice. Too often, we take for granted what we have and those we have. Today is about remembering the fallen and appreciating what they've done for us. For those of you out there that maybe have lost someone, or maybe even a couple people, leave their names in the comments if you want, and let the world know that you won't ever forget them. Memorial Day is an important thing here in the US, and I think it's really, really, really important for those of us in this community to remember what this is all about. Memorial Day is just a day, right? It's one day that's on the calendar. But I think this is something we need to do on a regular basis. We need to remember that people have sacrificed. So if you're out there watching on Memorial Day, I hope you're having a safe and fun day with the people that are still around, and you're remembering why this day exists.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Now, for our good guy with a gun story for the week, this one is a bit of a throwback, but it's worth talking about again. Back in March of 2016 in Seattle, at about 5:45 in the morning, a masked man with a hatchet walked into a 7-Eleven and just started attacking the customers and the clerk. I mean, with a hatchet, dude, oh wow. Well, one of the normal customers that buys coffee there every day, you know the type, happens to also be a responsible citizen. Within seconds of the attack happening, the customer realized what was up, drew his gun, and stopped the threat by ending the attacker's life. Violence is a thing that often gets looked at as a negative thing, but just like the shirt from Ari Factor says, sometimes violence is the answer. It makes me wonder if most people that are in that morning trance of getting coffee and whatever would have reacted with the same vigorous tactics. Have you guys ever seen some crazy stuff on your way to work? Let's hear about it in the comments. Sharps Brothers offers some of the most unique and well-built AR-15 and AR-10 receivers around, with models like the Warthog, the Jack, the Hellbreaker, or even the classic-looking Mean Streak. You'll be sure to find something to fit your build. To learn more about these and all of the other products that they make, head over to sharpsbros.com. We've got another Guntuber to show you guys, and this time I'm going to take a moment and explain why, more so than usual. I've seen some fantastic suggestions for channels to be featured here on the Guntuber of the Week segment, but not all of them can be featured, right? Not everybody that gets suggested can be featured. It's super important to me that if I'm going to feature a channel here, that they're either doing something different, maybe a different perspective, different type of content, or bring some really high quality content to you guys. Unfortunately, there are some gun channels out there that are just flat out boring or just don't put the effort forth to make content that I feel needs to be shared with you guys. TGC keeps a certain level of quality for our shows, right? That's what we do. Really high quality premium fuel for your guns announced a voluntary recall of their 300 Weatherby 100 I'll just start that one over. In order to properly do the testing with a good sample, they grabbed rails from 3 different companies. Companies? Where am I getting companies? You can save that one. We need to make sure that the gun tubers that we share with you guys fit into that in some way. And if you guys want more explanation than that, I'm happy to answer questions in the comment. Now, this week's channel is one that's kind of just getting started. It looks like they put out videos a few years ago and are kind of restarting these days. They've got just over 200 subscribers at the time of filming this, and I'm pumped to be able to share them with you guys because when I was getting started, I loved when somebody helped me out. Their camera movements, like the actual movements of the shots, and their editing is solid for a really young channel. It's honestly better than some of the biggest ones around. Let's take a look at a clip from Tundra Tactical.
Today on the channel we have our first impressions review of the Geronimo trigger system by our local friends here in the Twin Cities Airborne Arms. The Geronimo trigger system introduces the shooter to the ability to fit the trigger to their hand size and shooting style, and we're very pleasantly surprised with a consistent pull weight of 3.5 pounds.
I don't know a ton about who they are or where they're heading, but the quality of the content is outstanding, and I think you guys really should go subscribe. Now, if you know of a channel that needs to be featured here, you can either post that channel in the comments or send me a link via the friendly fire page on theguncollective.com. And unfortunately, guys, that is it for this week's show. You know what to do. If you enjoyed the episode, hit that like button. Boom, boom, boom. You know what to do. Subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you hated me. Leave a dislike if you didn't like the video. Go buy a t-shirt from Patriot Patch because they love to support TGC News. And as always, guys, thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon. The shirts worn in today's episode of TGC News were provided by Patriot Patch Company. Click the link in the description to learn more.